Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another electrifying episode of the SHAQ Podcast, where we don't just read the headlines, we decode the billion-dollar stories shaping our world. I'm your host, SHAQ, and every week I bring you closer to the boardrooms, the strategies, and the decisions that are redefining business, technology, and humanity itself. From Wall Street to Silicon Valley, from mergers to moonshots, I work hard to bring you insights from the world's most powerful deals. Deals that don't just move money, they move people, they move jobs, and they move the future forward. And today, we are diving into a seismic story that's rewriting the rules of global connectivity. Elon Musk's SpaceX has purchased $17 billion worth of wireless spectrum from EchoStar, a move that could connect every human on Earth directly to space. But behind the headline lies a much deeper question. How will this reshape work, technology, and the very fabric of human connection? And joining me to unpack it all is none other than the illustrious Kevin Gaylord, a man whose voice brings clarity to the chaos of global business. Kevin isn't just an expert, he's a strategic storyteller. When billion-dollar deals shake the market, Kevin is the one who explains what they really mean for employees, investors, and humanity at large. Kevin, my friend, welcome to the SHAQ Podcast. It's always an honor to have your brilliance, your wisdom, and your generosity in sharing your knowledge with us. Welcome, my friend. Welcome to the SHAQ Podcast. How are you today?
Well, fantastic. It's great to be here as usual, Shaq. Good to see you. Uh, happy Diwali, and yep, this is a very cool topic. This is going to be an interesting conversation, I think. So happy to be here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kevin. People who are listening to us live, just comment your questions. Just let us know if you can hear us all right and where you're listening from. And also, people who are looking at the recordings, I, if you've got any questions, just put them across to me, and I'm going to send it to Kevin, and he can answer them. And also, if you've got any questions, you can directly speak to Kevin as well. He is generous. I mean, really generous in sharing his knowledge about business and technology. So, Kevin, let's quickly dive into this deal, and let's start with question number one. Let's start from the top. $17 billion for a spectrum sounds massive. What exactly does this mean? And why is this such a big deal for SpaceX?
Right. So 17 billion, which is not. I mean, they're not buying it. They're buying a portion of this platform. But this is that is, well, one, it's not a lot of money for a company the size of SpaceX. Well, I should say it's a lot of money for anybody, but for what they're obviously trying to do, which we'll talk about, uh, this is the it's shocking that it's this low. Um that said, this is a win-win-win opportunity. Uh, I know we recently spoke about another investment, a larger investment that was different, where there's the potential for a lot of downside for the employees. In this one, I think honestly across the board, there's probably nothing but upside. Um, in spite of picking up, $2 billion in debt, which is what the Spectrum side is picking up. Uh, this is there's really only upside unless it's mismanaged, and I don't think it's going to be mismanaged. I think this is one that's going to just have a ton of success, and I think there's a lot of money that's going to be made by a lot of people. Yeah, this is a good one.
Awesome, awesome. Do you think that this is going to help everyone around the world? Because there are some remote places still all over the world where we cannot connect to the network. With this deal, it also have a positive impact on the communication of people that can save many lives as well. I mean, say in emergency, if this deal I mean, say the deal has been completed already, I think. So
Yeah,
it
they've formally agreed to it, so it is
yes, it has happened. Now, this deal can definitely help many people, many humans, and people who are in emergency at a remote place. They can connect. I mean, say, just imagine there are endless possibilities with this deal. People in war zones, people who are in remote places, it can save lives, and it can do many things. It can do wonders. People who are, I mean, say, if a person who wants to graduate, who wants to get a degree, he can connect remotely through this deal, and that could help him a lot. So, what do you have to say about that on the humanity aspect?
sure. So it's I think it's great that you bring that because I'm more interested personally in the humanitarian side of this deal. The technology, yeah, you're we're literally talking about the next generation of telecommunications um, in real time. And one thing I can say, I personally, I'm not, I struggle with Elon Musk in general. I've watched as he's taken credit for things that aren't his and added, I think, little value in a lot of ways. But then again, I've also seen him push business in directions that it wouldn't go organically. And SpaceX is a fabulous example of that. Um, so I'd say I'm disappointed in what he's done around the Tesla group, but when it comes to SpaceX, he's definitely been brilliant. And this is a absolute masterstroke here. So assuming things move forward the way they should, then you're absolutely right. What you're potentially talking about is saying we can provide uh, wireless communication virtually anywhere in the world. So a an example I was reading about was a rural farmer in the middle of nowhere, so to speak, uh, can actually check crop prices in real time before making a decision if it's time to harvest. That's a huge deal. That's a major advantage that historically has been reserved for more of the Western countries. And this evens that playing field at least a little bit. Obviously, if somebody can have access to a phone in an area that they ordinarily would have no service, there's just no options, that's always going to be a huge value. The challenges that will be set out in front of that, just to kind of, we'll come back to this, but sort of earmark it, is, the technology that delivers it from the actual device end has not been figured out. So they were saying, can this be used with existing cell phones, or is this a whole new device? I'm going to call it early and say, I'll bet it's a whole new device, and that whatever they make on this will be chump change in comparison to the receiver technology. I hope that's the case, because if it is, it opens the door to all sorts of opportunities for philanthropy. So if it is entirely about the service and the delivery of this signal, right? So just to kind of make sure anybody watching is on the same page. Right now, when you're talking on your mobile device, You've got it's connecting to the closest cell tower, which is connecting to the next closest, and so on, right? And doing this instantaneously back to a network, and then transmitting the signal from there, and so on and so forth. And it does this in fractions, tiny fractions of a second. But you are limited to the distance between your phone and the nearest available cellular tower or receiver. So that if you are in the middle of the desert and there's not one, or if you're in the middle of the jungle and there's not one, obviously you have no signal. Everybody's experienced a lack of signal. Uh, what Elon Musk has been working on through not this, but Starlink. If you're familiar with Starlink, he put up. Forgive me, don't quote any of these numbers, but a couple of hundred satellites strategically all around the globe, so that he could provide satellite internet service anywhere. That would be sort of phase one of what we're actually discussing, and that's a brilliant idea. And the only downside to that is a question of when that first kind of came around, there was the same conversation of, well, oh, this is great. This means that people in the middle of nowhere are going to have access to. And I don't think it's actually played out that way all that well. Hopefully, it's just a matter of timing, because that's still in the fairly early days of those services. But in this one, we're talking about another group of satellites. So we're getting really, it's getting pretty messy up there in space. But another grouping of satellites that will actually work directly with these cellular signals, so that instead of, if you remember, satellite phones, right, these huge, big monsters that work anywhere, it's great, they connect to a satellite, but it takes this massive antenna and everything, and now we're basically talking about taking a cell phone and having it connect directly to a satellite all the time. So effectively an elimination of dropped signals and dead zones everywhere it would work. From a humanitarian side, that opens up the possibility of saying, yeah, so anybody could get a cell phone anywhere and use it. I do believe that that's what this technology is potentially providing. And I say I believe it. I mean, it is. That's what it does. But that's what it would do. The question still comes, just because you provide it, that same, sorry, I don't know what's going on with the camera. I got all fuzzy here, but, that same farmer, way out where that can now theoretically have access to a smartphone and a connection and can check their crop prices in real time, they still have to be able to afford that couple of $1,000 device. And then the service, right? If this is the only one initially, this is the only service provider, they could charge anything for it. So the question then becomes, well, if there are meaningful humanitarian impacts here, or potential for meaningful impacts on that, what will be done about that? Because that's a decision that literally has to be made, right? Elon Musk and a group of guys have to sit down and say, what do we want to do about this? Unfortunately, historically, Elon Musk is not a philanthropist. The richest man in the world gives away very little money, as does his companies. They're known for it. They actually get in some trouble for it. His answer to that has been, no, I want to invest my money. And I'm not making a statement about it. I'm just saying his answer historically has been, I'd rather invest my money into these creative, world-changing businesses than just give it to folks. So he has a different view of philanthropy, and I think this is sort of one of those things where, hey, let me change the world rather than sort of give it away. So that I know I'm kind of making a big run around this, but I think how yes, this has massive humanitarian impact. What that looks like is going to rest on the shoulders of a very few board members at SpaceX. So it's going to be interesting to see that play out. But it's huge, it's brilliant, and I think that right now, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile, I'm calling those three in particular out as the sort of big three in communications. Without question, those guys are scrambling to say, what's our answer to this? Because it's not, just because the money's been spent does not mean the technology is there, right? It's just, they just sort of pulled back the curtain and told the world what they intend to do. And now everybody else is going to have to respond. And I promise you, they are all actively trying to have an answer to this. So let me see if I can reset this camera. You keep talking. I'll be quiet for a minute. That did nothing. Anyway, that's my spiel there.
No problem. It looks great. I mean, it looks a bit fuzzy, but it's great. I can see you. So, okay. So the thing here is, thank you so much, first of all, for answering that. Here you go. It's all clean. Your camera looks fine. Okay. So speaking of which, thank you so much for answering that question. And also, you have made two points here. First of all, the device which connects to this technology is not ready yet. Even if it is ready, can a normal person afford it? Second thing, uh, Elon Musk is not a philanthropist. I know that. Elon Musk is not a philanthropist. He's not like the Kinder couple. I think you've read in the news that Houston Kinder couple is giving away $10 billion in charity from their $11 billion of fortune. Yesterday, it was all over the news. So it is not like that. That's great. That I'm not supporting him. It's not, but it is his choice. Anyways. So according to you, uh, this is just the starting. They have just told what is their plan. It's not. Say the technology is not active. Is what you're trying to say, right?
Yeah. It's, I mean, we're not, tomorrow we're not going to have this. What they're calling it, just peeking at some notes I jotted down here, is direct to cell Starlink. So again, if we think about Starlink, they're just taking the Starlink model and applying it to the mobile device. So this is the foundational move for that. How far along they are, that's a secret. Nobody knows. But the guesstimate is that you're still some ways off. They wouldn't have gone ahead and secured this deal without already having a plan and a lot of the legwork done. So I imagine they're further along than we might realize, but I wouldn't expect this to come on, in the next several months. I'd say it's going to take a little time. And then there rolls into the whole question of, regulatory issues that come with it. So telecommunications, notoriously is a heavily regulated industry. Elon Musk has done a fantastic job of working around regulation. You look at Tesla has been a great example, but you can also look at Tesla's self-driving cars, which in the United States, that's been one of his huge goals, probably the biggest goal for that organization, is to move, to own the self-driving car market, or create it and roll it out. And he's actually faced a ton of oversight challenges with that. So, it'll be interesting to see. I know that he's one that's kind of, fire first, then aim kind of guy. I think, like, hey, let me do it, and I'll ask permission, or I'll ask forgiveness rather than permission, which is probably a great way to move forward with anything, heavily regulated space. But it'll be very interesting to watch this play out. And as with most of his other ventures, I would argue that from a technology standpoint, everyone will be better off for what gets provided, even if SpaceX and Starlink, even if Elon Musk isn't the one that ends up being the leader in the space, he's pushing the technology. So AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, these guys may, undoubtedly. So years ago, I worked with AT&T, and one thing I'll say that blew my mind is that they have their technology roadmap. You'd be shocked at how long it is. I sat through so back when I was with Bell South, which was, when AT&T in the 80s, they broke it up into these regional Bell operating systems in the United States, and Bell South was the largest of those. That's kind of where I got my start in business. Eventually, AT&T reacquired Bell South, and I was there for that acquisition. But slightly within a year of the acquisition, I got to sit through one of the president's meetings on the technology roadmap, and this is going back 20 years. They said, well, we have effectively, here's our 20-year outlook. 20 years in technology. I mean, that's like 1,000 years. It's crazy. So they said, here's our 20-year outlook. And basically that one is really your best technological guess. Where do we think we're going to be in 20 years globally from a technology standpoint as it relates to telecommunications? And then from there, they worked their way back to, okay, so where do we have to be? If that's right, where do we have to be in 10 years to support that? And then once we say, so now we know where we want to be in 10 years. So where do we have to be at 5 years to support that? And then they worked back a 4-year, 3-year, 2-year, and it got more granular the closer you got. When that happened, just to give you perspective, they were talking about, this is probably more than 20 years ago, this maybe 25 years ago, they were talking about something they saw in the future that they were calling IPTV. And I remember hearing about it. I was like, it's the coolest thing I've ever heard. I said, yeah, think about it. Any TV show you want to watch, you think of it, you just go, through your device, your television, and or your computer, and you reach out and you should watch it. You're watching it off of somebody else's server. You can watch it. No more waiting for something to come on or a rerun to come on. And so they built a plan that was the 20-year outlook. Now, obviously, we know that became a reality. Brilliant. I mean, it's huge. So they saw that, I don't know, let's call it 22 years ago. And they said, okay, well, at 10 years, what do we have to do to hit that? I said, well, back then, everything was about a physical connection to your domicile. So they said, well, we've got to have a fiber network run within so many feet of X% of the United States households. So I want to say it was like 80% of the households in the United States they wanted to be within 5,000 feet of. So that's huge. And so then there was, from that 10-year goal, they drew it back to, so in order to do that, within 5 years, we need to have these delivery stations. I forget what they're called, these hubs. And so we're going to need, I don't know, 2,500 of those built. And each one costs $250,000. We're going to blah, blah, blah. So then it was a 5-year plan to build those so they could be ready for all these other things. I mean, it's absolutely fascinating. So when we talk about, and that was Bell South 22 years ago, a company that doesn't even exist today. Not because they weren't valuable; they were hugely valuable. Again, it was an $81 or $82 billion sale. AT&T got them. AT&T ended up also acquiring a company called Singular, which at the time was one of the biggest, maybe even the biggest cellular provider at the time. So then AT&T had a different view. And so I say these things because it looks a lot like the way Elon Musk operates. And I think he's looking at this and saying, not, okay, $17 billion for a guy that's worth $354 billion. And it's not his money either, by the way. I mean, this is the company money. Come on, 17 billion. This is nothing. So this was a no-brainer. I mean, he's probably, their company will invest well over $100 billion in this before it's said and done, I'm sure. But playing that sort of long game and saying, no, let's see, where do we want to be? Well, I want to have colonization of Mars. I want to have everybody in the world has a cell phone and internet. Everybody has self-driving vehicles. I want the future in my lifetime, whatever. That's my positive outlook on Elon Musk and what I hope he's doing and his actions would sort of support. So in this case, I think what's happening is they're quite literally saying, what do we want the future to look like? What's the fast track to get there? And then regulators and the marketplace and investors and everybody else is going to try to slow that process down just by sort of doing their jobs. But in this case, as I said at the beginning of this conversation, I don't think there's any real downside. I think this is all upside for the employees, the stockholders, the world. This one is I don't see any meaningful downside, provided they execute in the manner that I just described. That's all.
Okay.
There's a lot.
That was a very brief and detailed answer. Thank you so much. I never knew so much about Bell South. I mean, say, I don't think I was born. I think I was born, but I was still in my, school days, I think. But thank you so much for letting me know about it. And yes, Elon Musk is trying to venture into different fields, and I know he's not an expert, but I think he's trying to do new things. I also think that he should first. Uh, say more than investing in any deal, he should first. I'm not sure if I say this, but I think he should work hand in hand with the players which are already in the market first. I think get some experience on it. I hate Tesla too. I'm not sure if you're a fan of Tesla.
I like it. I like innovation, and it's an innovation company. Like I say, I'm. It's not my money, so whatever they want to do, they want to do, and whatever buyers want to buy, they want to buy. So it doesn't really matter my feelings on that. I wish Elon Musk was more of a philanthropist. I think that's probably my one of the things that I least admire, but I definitely like that he pushes the envelope, and I think that humanity in that sense does benefit. So
Exactly. Exactly. I totally agree with you on that. And also, I also think people who have got a lot of money, not a lot, but a very, very big lot of money, they should definitely consider, helping humans. Say, we've got a short life. What are you going to do with that money after your time is up on this?
right.
All right. Anyhow, that's completely his choice. But we are here to decode the humanitarian side of this deal. Bringing me to the question of creating jobs, and the next question is related to the same thing or theme about jobs. But before that, Kevin, according to your expert calculations, do you have, say you told us the things which I or my people or people who are looking at listening to SHAQ Podcast or seeing SHAQ Podcast never knew, or anybody else never knew about it. I mean, say Electronic Arts did not tell the complete detail about the deal in public. You've told us that the last time, and thank you so much for letting us know about the inside detail of that deal. So according to you, do you have any, I mean, say according to your expertise and calculations, do you also have any knowledge of any inside points or inside news that they are hiding something from the public and they're not completely open to the public kind of news?
So on this one, I think that's less likely. I think there's always stuff behind the scenes that we don't and we won't know. Which again go into that sort of technology roadmap, what exactly the plan is, what the timeline is, how far along they are. We don't know those things, but um, so unlike the Electronic Arts deal, which was a private equity investment, and so there you're going to have the reduction in workforce through position synergies and optimization. You're going to have very aggressive growth expectations and so on. In this case, this is a technology buy. So this is really different. This is one company. So in this case, it happens to be SpaceX, spending some of their very large war chest on technology. They're sort of, rather than building something out, which would take a lot more money and a lot more time, they're buying a solution effectively, right? So they're doing it through an acquisition in this case, and that in that scenario, I don't think. I mean, might be some turnover of staffing and whatnot. I wouldn't expect a lot. I would say in this case, they're not looking for, hey, we spent 17 billion, we need to squeeze out all this efficiency. I think this is, we spent 17 billion, but we've allocated 40 billion for this. I want to move the needle fast and I want to move it aggressively. And that's what this move says to me. So I think it's a very different deal. And again, I've said a couple times, I'm probably going to keep saying, I really think in this one case, there's only upside for everybody, including the employees. I don't think this one has any kind of nefarious underbelly. I think it's really a positive move. They'll have challenges, no doubt, and if they can't pull it off, for some reason, then that's a whole different conversation. But I don't see anything in this that suggests that they won't pull it off. I think this one is them fast forwarding themselves and putting themselves right. This is SpaceX. It's a rocket company that's putting themselves in a telecommunications world. And if they can do it fast enough and efficiently enough and do it without a lot of challenges, and I say, if there's a secret sauce, if they can find a way, and this is far outside of my realm of knowledge here, but if they can find a way to make this system operate with existing devices, the minute they turn it on, they could be the biggest telecommunications provider on the planet. It would be insane. So Starlink is growing, and I haven't done the research, so I can't tell you, where they stand. But I mean, that's one that is definitely getting a lot of traction, and you really don't hear negative feedback about it. It's maybe not as robust as we thought it would be by now, but it still seems to be pretty much a rock star service. And I would say using that model and applying it to the mobile service, this one is kind of a no-brainer. So the richest guy in the world has probably positioned himself to strongly increase his holdings.
So Elon, if you're listening to this, get a way to make this technology work with the existing devices. And this is the reason. I must say this. This is the reason only you and you can decode these billion-dollar deals because you've got that expertise and experience from all the companies, and you've been a part of these mergers and acquisitions before, and only you have the expertise of decoding these deals or explaining them to normal people like me. I would never would be able, I mean, say me or anyone else would never be able to understand what's going on. We just see the number and we think that, oh, that is a lot of money. To be very honest, that's a lot of money. But what actually is happening and what happens after that, and how these deals go through, and also how the regulatory authorities, I mean say I also want to ask you what happens once these deals are through. The government, the regulatory authorities work around these deals or with the big players. I'm going to ask you that question as well. But before that, the next question which I have, which is really in accordance with this theme of this podcast about people. Now, I want to ask you, what kind of jobs could this deal create, especially for engineers, data experts, and space tech professionals?
Yeah, I would expect, that this will create quite a few. The opportunity is there for, a lot of new positions. So if we look at SpaceX and Starlink and trying to manage already hundreds of satellites, not to mention their rocket program, so they already have. That's another thing. This is a vertically integrated organization. Companies, you it up, you go pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to another business to send it up. They've got that embedded. They have the rockets. They've got the permissions. They've already done that. So I mean, this is a logical next step for them as an organization. But with to get this done, I have to imagine you're now talking about hundreds of more satellites, and then there's going to be these things age, right? They're out there getting solar radiation, and they're aging. They're going to have to be dealt with and fixed and swapped out and dealt with, whatever happens. So which all increases. My point is the amount of handling increases over time, not just through age and degradation, but through excuse me, the more people that are relying on the network. So if we go to a global touch and you've got millions of users of this service, and a meteor knocks out a couple of your satellites, you got to be really, really prepared to deal with that. So when we talk about the terrestrial services, you have a storm that knocks out a cell tower, or you have something that happens and a buried fiber line gets cut. These things can be repaired in hours. We're talking about a satellite. Maybe you have redundant. I would hope you would have built redundancies on Earth, but you have to get them into space, and you have to get them aligned and positioned, and this is not something that can happen overnight. So I would imagine whatever they already have in place to support Starlink is going to grow quite a bit. So just a complete guess, pulling it out of thin air, I would say you're talking hundreds to even thousands of positions over time. If I look at the telecommunications world, which I'm very familiar with on the business side, I mean, there are millions of people supporting that network globally. This being in space, I would expect you'd have a much smaller number of people, but still tens of thousands in the end. And I don't know what they have embedded at SpaceX now, but I would imagine it's going to grow quite a bit. So furthering that statement of there's really nothing but upside, more jobs, more. I mean, this really is that win-win-win situation, and whether we like Elon Musk or not, it's. I mean, I have to give it to him. This is the right play. So yes, to your point a few minutes ago, if Elon Musk is watching, Elon, give me a call, buddy. I'd love to have a conversation.
Sure, sure. Elon, if you're watching, you know, you know where to find Kevin on LinkedIn.
There you go.
And all the people who are watching, or people who are going to watch the recordings, or people who are watching the short form videos on YouTube, just to inform you, Kevin, got a massive response on the short form videos on YouTube. So people who are watching this content on short form videos, where I cut out important points and put them in a portrait format. Uh, you know, people, if you've got any questions, and if you want to reach out to Kevin directly, if you want to speak to him directly, LinkedIn is the best possible way. And you just text him, and he's going to be he's going to answer your question at the earliest. At the first instance, he's free, but he's going to answer for sure. That is my experience with him. And he is definitely a person you can vouch on. You can, I mean, say that is guaranteed. He's going to generously share his knowledge with you all. And also, Op Sherpa is organization. And Kevin, could you please also tell about Op Sherpa?
Sure. Yeah. So I have a consulting organization called Ops Sherpa, OPSSHERPA, which is at opssherpa.net. And that was formed for the reasons SHAQ just said, to be able to help primarily small and mid-sized organizations on their operational side for evaluation, or sort of a fractional COO positioning, that type of thing. I will say we just added, or in the process of adding, an AI expert into that. So, AI being kind of a little bit of everything right now. We've the reach and have access to. I'm talking to a guy later this week about a hardware coverage and a cybersecurity coverage as well. So lots of connections. If there's a business out there that wants to even just have a conversation about what they could or should be doing, let's talk. It doesn't cost anything to have a conversation. And then Elon Musk, you call me. Putting that out there. Somebody share that with Elon. That was it.
Yes, Elon, I also agree with you. Paul, Kevin, he's the best of the best. And I am telling that from experience. I've been on podcast with Kevin, and I'm so delighted, and I'm so fortunate to know him, to be very honest. And thank you so much, Kevin, for you generously. There was not a time when Kevin told that this was not possible. He's an optimistic person who says everything is possible. And I does not remember he whenever I asked him, requested him about for a podcast, he has always agreed, and he has always showed up with expert guidance and advices. Thank you so much, Kevin, for that. And yes, Alon, get his number and call him directly as well. Okay, and the next question, which is uh, again into EchoStar's perspective. Kevin, this is a bit a complicated question. You can choose not to answer if you want, but the question is EchoStar's perspective. EchoStar offloaded significant spectrum assets and canceled a $13 billion satellite contract after this deal. How does this reshape their business? And do you think the Boost mobile partnership with Starlink signals a broader trend, or legacy telecoms leaning on satellite innovators?
Yeah, so I would say that my opinion hasn't really changed from what we've been talking about. This is a strategic operational move for both organizations. or a partnership towards the future of what mobile communication looks like. Um, if they're deciding to cancel a contract or make any shifts in their business direction, I will guarantee you it's entirely strategic to align with this particular effort. That may have been dictated in some part by SpaceX as part of the deal, and so be it. I would say again, if we fast forward, let's just say 2 or 3 years, I think when we look at the valuation of these organizations, 17 billion is it's a rounding error. I mean, it's just nothing. So anything that they're changing right now should be strategically aligned with this effort. I would imagine they're going to put everything into this. Um, and if they have folks in their organization working on other projects, I I would guess, it's an absolute guess, but I would guess that they won't eliminate them. They'll rather reallocate them to this effort. If that makes sense.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kevin, for that brief answer. The next question quickly, and also we have to respect the time to my audience. I'm telling, if at all, if you've got any questions, just put them across in the comments, and I'll try to include them into the session. After the session, go ahead and follow Op Sharpa company page, and also follow Kevin on LinkedIn. That is the best possible way to reach him as soon as possible. And the next question, Kevin, very quickly, I want to ask the regulatory context. So again, if you wanna, you know, find it difficult, you can choose not to answer. But the question is, given the FCC's pressure on EchoStar for not deploying its 5G spectrum quickly enough, how do you think this acquisition impacts the regulatory landscape for non-terrestrial networks? And could it set a precedent for future spectrum deals?
Absolutely. To the latter part of that, absolutely, it affects it. But what they're talking about, what SpaceX is talking about, is breaking free from the telecommunications positions as it relates to regulatory oversight, and skipping over and going to 6G. That's so they're moving to 6G global connectivity, uh, which I have no idea if that's on anybody's roadmap other than them, and hopefully it is. I'm sure somewhere it is. But I think what they're doing is they're leapfrogging regulation and just going to something that doesn't have embedded regulation. There's not regulation, meaningful regulation for mass global communication via satellite, where there is through these cell towers and fiber optic, and this is it's just a they're skipping a step in essence, and kind of jumping forward. I imagine the regulators are going to scramble to try to catch up, and that's a very smart place to be, is establishing the market before there's the regulation. Much harder to step into it once the regulation exists, because now you have to work within guardrails. Uh, their guardrails are very, very wide at this point, so they can really make up what they want this thing to look like, and then everybody else has to sort of play in their space. Um, it, it's a brilliant move. There's no other way around it. It's a brilliant play. So, that's all.
Awesome. 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 Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that brief and detailed answer, Kevin. And quickly moving on to the next question, which I have for you, is about which is directly related to this deal. Kevin, I want to ask you quickly, if this succeeds, could we see a new digital economy built entirely on space connectivity?
Wow, that's a big question, Shaq. Whew. Well, obviously anything's possible. Um, I think what we're dealing with is I'm gonna throw back to the 80s for this. There was huge money in the mid 1980s and before, mid the 70s and mid up to the mid 80s. Huge money globally in arcades, right? So you went to the arcade, you dropped in a ridiculous amount of quarters to play whatever video games. You spent your whole afternoon, and this was the thing. And they were everywhere and they were huge. This was big business. And then we stuck a Nintendo in 60 million homes inside of a year. 2 years later, you're hard pressed to find an arcade. What Elon Musk is doing here is changing an established industry. Now, do I think that AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, these bigger companies, do I think they're in any danger? Absolutely not. No, not even remotely. And again, I'd be shocked if they weren't already working on this same thing. He's just leapfrogging it and pushing it forward, or he might just be making it more visible. I mean, they may be further along for all we know. They may be able to release this before him. I don't know. But I think what we're seeing is, again, just sort of juxtaposing it with the arcade to in-home video game world, is we are sitting on top of a moment in time where a massive technology shift is getting ready to happen. The way we interact with our phones and our computers, how we connect to the internet, the wires literally coming into our home, all of that is up for grabs as this plays out. Because I think as this succeeds, Starlink as an ISP is going to blow up as well. I mean, the potential here is shocking. It's really, really, really massive. So, in terms of a currency, I wouldn't necessarily say, I don't know if I would put that term on it, but I would say that we're redefining where, how we're spending money on communications, and that being the biggest market, period. I mean, there's more money collectively in telecommunications than anything. And if we're talking about changing that, I mean, it's huge. It's the kind of thing that most people dream of and rarely ever see in their lifetime. So, and we're looking at it in real time by just seeing the visual. Hey, they just spent $17 billion, and we can see the writing on the wall and know what's coming. So it may not be formally a new currency, but it's definitely going to change markets dramatically over the next few years.
Well, again, thank you so much for that brief answer. And people listening, the sounds in my background, these are Diwali crackers.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Kevin, for this brief answer. And the last and final question for you, which is again related to Elon Musk. Finally, Kevin, looking at this from a leadership and legacy perspective, what does this deal say about Elon Musk's long-term vision for humanity?
Well, I would say that Elon, he definitely doesn't view limitations on what we can do and what we can do in short order. And I think that's true of most visionaries. You want to, in essence, learn about Elon Musk. I recommend reading the Steve Jobs biography, which is a fabulous read. There's a certain type of person that just doesn't see limitations, and how Elon really sort of made his money initially involved that, but how he made his real foothold in history, started at the right place at the right time, with taking Tesla and getting that Series A funding. Uh, and then what he's done with it from there is just staggering. To turn around and say, yeah, you know what, I want to see people on Mars in my lifetime. Uh, that's it's not that it's unheard of, but to act on it and realize it and make your vision a reality in short order. Uh, love him or hate him, the guy gets his stuff done. So uh, this is going to happen, and this is going to be huge. And when Elon calls me, I hope to celebrate that with him. When we have that little chat. And happy dwelling.
Sure. Thank you so much for your wishes, Kevin. And I really do hope that Elon calls you, and I'll make sure I'll try. I'll try my best to to send this message over to him. And
Thanks.
for sure, for sure. So, for, Kevin, I have to say, every time you're here, the world feels a little clearer. You don't just analyze business, you illuminate it. And it's already Diwali, so the skies are getting illuminated, and you are illuminating the SHAQ podcast. And I promise I'll send you the videos over to you with the firecrackers and all the rockets going on in the skies. I'll record it and send it over to you. And I just want to say, Kevin, the way you break down the $1 billion waves into human stories is truly extraordinary. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom so generously, for taking us beyond the numbers into the heart, into the heart of innovation, leadership, and humanity. Thank you, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Shaq.
And and to everyone listening, remember, behind every $1 billion deal lies a story about people, passion, and possibility. We are living in a time where money isn't just currency, it's energy shaping the future. And here at the SHAQ Podcast, my mission is to decode that energy, one global deal at a time. So stay tuned, because next time Kevin and I, Shaq, will be diving into another massive move shaking the world economy. Until next time, this is your friend signing off. Take care.